Good evening and welcome to tonight's Undaunted, bringing into the news untold stories. I am Oyi Okbala. Let's begin. The situation in Bamenda is a deep reminder of the numerous security challenges and hardships faced by the people of Ambazonia. The recent incidents of two men pretending to be Ambazonian fighters only to be caught by the real ones highlights the complexities of the issues plaguing Ambazonia. First and foremost, the presence of impostors claiming to be part of the Ambazonian movement is a testament to the lack of trust and stability in Ambazonia. It's also a symptom of a broader problem where the lines between reality and deception are constantly blurred. These not only create fear and uncertainty among the local population, but also undermines the legitimacy of the genuine Ambazonian fighters who are fighting for their rights and freedom. Moreover, the fact that these impostors were able to obtain guns and roam freely, causing harassment and intimidation, speaks to the pervasive issue of insecurity in Ambazonia. The region, the country, has been plagued by kidnappings, armed robberies, and other forms of violence crimes, which have become all too common. The people of Ambazonia live in constant fear of being abducted or harmed, which has a devastating impact on their daily lives and livelihoods. But insecurity is just one of the many ills that Ambazonians face. The country's infrastructure is in a deplorable state with roads that are often impassable, especially during the rainy season. The lack of decent roads hinders economic development, makes it difficult for people to access basic services like healthcare and education, and exacerbates the already dire humanitarian situation. Furthermore, the Ambazonian people have been subjected to numerous human rights abuses, including extrajudicial killings, torture, and forced disappearances. The colonial military's presence in their country has only served to exacerbate these problems, creating an atmosphere of oppression and intimidation. The story of the two impostors who claim to have been given guns by an Ambazonian fighter to target a colonial military man also highlights the issue of drug abuse and the exploitation of vulnerable individuals by armed men. The fact that a welding workshop was being used as a hub for drug dealing and that the colonial military was allegedly involved in these activities is a deep reminder of the corruption and decency that pervades every level of society in Ambazonia. In conclusion, the situation in Bamenda is a microcosm of the broader problems faced by the people of Ambazonia, from insecurities and kidnappings to bad roads and human rights abuses. The region is plagued by a multitude of ills that have created a perfect storm of suffering and hardship. It's imperative that the world takes notice of these issues and works towards finding a lasting solution to the Ambazonian crisis, one that prioritizes the rights, dignity, and well-being of the Ambazonian people. Well, we'll get into the full briefings of this, but first let's get the prime headlines. Here are the primary lines for tonight. We'll start with the report of two impostors, Ambazonian fighters apprehended in Bamenda. Meanwhile, lecturer has been abducted aside students being abducted in Bamenda. Tonight, we'll take a look at the Ambazonian State Army of our local government area, how they have outsmarted one force of occupation, sending him far away. We'll also take a look at Ewane Roland, kidnapped far in October 2024, well, it's been confirmed that he's alive as he sends distress call to his slave master. We'll take a look at Tanzania. Suspected Marburg virus outbreak. It has killed 8, poses high risk to countries and neighboring countries. That's on African news. And the US has issues do not travel warning for 20 countries amid high global instability. Well, we'll look at that for the news across the globe. Let's start with news from the home front. In Bamenda, 2 young guys pretending to be from the Ambazonian State Army have been caught. The men captured allegedly belonged to a gang from the Bui area known for causing insecurity in the community. Well, they have faced, especially with rising fears of kidnapping and violence. The situation has become tense as the city deals with a wave of crime. Just yesterday, 2 men from the Bui area in the Savannah zone were arrested for pretending to be fighters from the Ambazonian movement. They had been moving around Bamenda, causing fear and harassing the local people. Well, according to the video of their capture, these men were caught by real Ambazonian fighters. They were taken at a place popularly known as Virgin Land. They both brandished their guns handed to them by a certain Jagaban, an Ambazonian fighter in the Unsop County. Well, according to him, he was handed the gun, a weapon to use to bring down a colonial military man who often came to buy drugs around his former welding workshop. The said Jagaban had promised that once he brought down the local colonial agent, collected his gun, and handed it over to him, he would be given a motorcycle as compensation. Like these men, several other robbers have impersonated Ambazonian fighters and forced residents to live in fear due to their atrocious acts committed throughout the war. The ASA has promised to track down all impostors and give them the punishment they deserve. Meanwhile, the fate of the 2 thieves are yet to be decided upon. Still on insecurity, aside from students being abducted, lecturers are also facing abduction and kidnapping. A lecturer from the University of Bamenda was kidnapped from his home in the Ntamuche area of Bamenda when unidentified gunmen stormed the area and snatched him away. The incident occurred in the Ntamuche neighborhood where the lecturer was abducted from his residence. Witnesses reported that the attacker stormed the home, firing shots into the air to create chaos before forcibly taking the lecturer away. The reasons behind these familiar acts are still unclear, and local authorities have not yet commented on the situation. The university community and residents are in shock, worried about their safety as residents like these have become more common in recent months. While the university community is still struggling to cope with the many lifeless bodies of innocent students found in the last few weeks, lecturers seem to be as well targeted by these abductors. Efforts are currently underway to gather more details about the abduction and the lecturer's name and condition. As this story develops, we will continue to provide updates. For now, our thoughts are with the lecturers, family, and community currently facing this troubling situation, and for everyone to consider their safety first. That's not all. While the Ambazonian State Army of our local government area has outsmarted one force of occupation, and of course, these helped them to harvest his weapon and ammunition in an operation that has been dated the 13th of January 2025. Well, Monday, 13th January was another demonstration of the bravery of the Ambazonian State Army and their resolve to fight for the liberation of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia from La Republic to Cameroon. Well, the Ambazonian State Army in Foruawa local government area in Menchum County outsmarted the forces of occupation by deleting one colonial gendarme from the Ambazonian area. In a video capturing the moments of the operation, the colonial thug is seen lifeless, abandoned by their chicken-hearted colleagues on the road as the Ambazonian State Army established command. It was a 100% success for the Ambazonian State Army, which recorded no casualties. The weapon and ammunition of the colonial was collected by the Ambazonian State Army. In an after-operation video presenting the harvest, the Ambazonian State Army spokesperson in Menchum local government area sent a firm warning to all the blacklegs to repent for fact capital punishment, reiterating that break time is over. How about the DO of Idabacho local government area, who has been in captivity since October 2024? Well, this report is not a new report from our bulletins, but his persistent call for help has always been in the news. Ewane Roland, kidnapped Colonial Idabacho Dio, has confirmed his survival through a distressing voice message after over 3 months in captivity. He made a signal on Monday, January 13. He addressed the Colonial Senior Divisional Officer, the immediate boss, and the pleading of an urgent intervention. In his words, he says, "Mr. Perfect, please, I'm making this voice note to say that we are still alive." This is Ewane Roland, the DO of Idabacho, he says. He continues pleading, says, "Please see what you can do to help me, to help us. My family has been able to raise some money. We are sick here. Please tell the governor to forward his message to the minister, His Excellency, Mr. Tanganji. Help us and don't let us die in the hands of these people." Well, these were the words of the Colonial DO, the kidnapped Colonial DO. Well, the Colonial DO also indicated that the kidnappers are growing more impatient and could kill him and a Tongo Ismail, a worker of the Colonial Idabato Council, who was also kidnapped alongside with him on the 1st of October 2024. Ever since they were kidnapped, Ewane and Mr. Tongo have been seen once in a distressing video in which they were being severely tortured and which many people thought they were dead. While the Colonial Divisional Officer was kidnapped around 2 a.m. On October 1st after armed invaders broke into his residence at Idabacho, a maritime town in once disputed Bakassi Peninsula, 90% of whose inhabitants in the area are said to be people from neighboring country, which is also known to be a fertile ground prone to attacks by pirates. Local colonial authorities attribute the kidnapping to neighboring countries as they have been living together in previous years. The kidnappers initially demanded a ransom of $5 million but later dropped the amount. The family so far has been struggling to raise the money, but their efforts are limited. The colonial regime has reportedly not made any financial provisions to secure the colonial DO's release. Mr. Ewane Roland's voice message hinted that they could be freed in the coming days if the kidnappers meet their demands promptly. He stated that his family works to raise their money, the pirates demand, but everything hinges on the colonial government, which should facilitate the release of prisoners requested by the kidnappers. While Mr. Ewane Roland's family has made considerable efforts to secure his release, the colonial government's response has been widely criticized. The Colonial Minister of Territorial Administration, Paula Tanganji, has remained silent so far on the matter, and so the criticism has been loud when it took 7 weeks before the colonial government officially acknowledged the kidnapping, with the Colonial Minister of Communication, Rainy Emmanuel Saidi, addressing it on the 22nd of November 2024. The colonial DO Ewane, representative of the octogenarian president, faced abduction while serving in a war zone. 2 months later, Paul Biya has remained silent. Oh well, and this is where we draw the curtains from reports from the homeland. But seems in other African countries, like in Tanzania, they are also facing a possible outbreak. That will take after this break. The situation in Tanzania is quite alarming, with a suspected outbreak of Marburg virus disease known as the MVD that has already claimed 8 lives. The World Health Organization has reported 9 suspected cases in the Kagera region, and the symptoms are pretty severe, including headaches, high fever, back pain, and bleeding from orifices. The fact that these cases have been reported in 2 districts suggests that the virus is spreading geographically, and the delayed detection and isolation of cases means that there is still a lot to be learned about the outbreak. The WHO is taking this very seriously, and they are working closely with local authorities to contain the outbreak. They are doing contact tracing, which involves monitoring people who may have come in contact with someone infected with the virus, and they are also providing guidance on how to prevent further transmission. The risk of the outbreak spreading to other countries in the region is considered high, so it's essential that neighboring countries are prepared to respond quickly if needed. It's worth noting that Marburg virus disease is similar to Ebola, and it's caused by the same family of viruses. The virus can spread through human to human contact, usually through direct contact with the blood or other bodily fluids of an infected person. The incubation period can range from 2 to 21 days, and the symptoms can be severe, including the hemorrhaging and organ failure. The WHO is advising healthcare workers to take extra precaution when caring for patients with suspected or confirmed MVD, including wearing protective gear and following strict infection control protocols. They are also encouraging people to be aware of the risk factors for Marburg infection and to take steps to reduce their exposure to virus. Overall, the situation in Tanzania is a reminder of the importance of global health security and the need for countries to be prepared to respond to outbreaks like this. The WHO is playing a critical role in coordinating the response, and it's essential that we all stay informed and take preventive steps to prevent the spread of the virus. Well, because of the virus, some countries are issuing do not travel. Well, that's on the global scene right after this break. Well, the US government has just issued a do not travel warning for 20 countries, and it's a big deal. This warning is the highest level of alert, level 4, and is due to severe safety risks and potential threats to your life. The countries on the list include Russia, North Korea, Iran, Iraq, Ukraine, Afghanistan, Belarus, Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, Venezuela, and Yemen. This warning is a clear indication of the heightened global instability we are facing, and is a reminder that safety should always be the top priority when traveling internationally. The US government is urging American citizens to avoid traveling to these regions and to stay informed about the latest safety information. For travelers, this means being extra cautious and doing thorough research before planning a trip. It's essential to stay up to date with the latest travel advisories and to consider the potential risks involved. The tourism industry will also likely be impacted, as travelers may choose to avoid destinations that are considered high risk. If you're planning to travel internationally, make sure to check the travel advisories for your destination and to exercise extreme caution. It's always better to be safe than sorry, and there are plenty of amazing destinations around the world that are considered safe for travelers. So you all should check that before you travel. But that's by the way. In another development, the President Volodymyr Zelensky just announced that Ukraine's defense industry is now covering about 33 to 34% of the country's need for weapons and equipment, which is a huge jump from less than 10% at the beginning of the war. This is a significant milestone, and it shows that Ukraine is making great progress in becoming more self-sufficient when it comes to defense production. Ukraine's domestic arms industry has been expanding rapidly with a focus on producing artillery and heavy munitions, armored vehicles, and drones. In fact, Ukraine has increased its production of mortar rounds by a factor of 42 and artillery shells by a factor of 2.5 in 2023. The country has also resumed production of its homegrown vehicular multi-launch rocket system, which have a longer range and heavier payload than the US supplied M142 HIMARS. Ukraine is also working on developing its own indigenous long-range strike capabilities, I beg your pardon. including a kamikaze strike drone with a range of 1,000 kilometers, and is planning to produce 1,000 such drones by the end of 2024. The country is also upgrading its Neptune cruise missile to extend their range from 300 kilometers. Additionally, Ukraine is establishing partnerships with international companies to develop its defense industry, including a defense industry alliance that allows international defense manufacturers to work with the Ukrainian defense industry. The country has signed agreements with foreign partners to manufacture drones, repair military equipment, and produce armored vehicles and ammunition. Overall, it's clear that Ukraine is making significant strides in developing its defense industry, and this will likely have a major impact on the country's ability to defend itself in the long term. Well, that's all from the news across the globe. Before we go tonight on Undaunted, let's take a look at our major stories. Well, tonight on Undaunted, we told you that two imposters, Ambazonian fighters, got apprehended in Bamenda, which is a sign of deceit. A lecturer has also been abducted in Bamenda as well. We took a look at the Ambazonian State Army of Faroua local government area, where they outsmarted one force of occupation. We also took a look at the Ewane Rollins report, a kidnapping case that has stayed long overdue. While in Tanzania, a new virus, Marburg virus, has killed 8 people. And so we took a look at the high risks to countries and its neighboring countries as well. While the US has issued a do not travel warning for 20 countries amid heightened global instability. That's it for tonight's Undaunted. Bringing into the news untold stories on behalf of the team of technicians behind tonight's production, it's goodbye and God bless.